6:02. We'll call the sewer meeting to order, and you'll please forgive us. We're trying to do live stream, and if somebody is technologically savvy and can figure out YouTube and why the camera doesn't talk to the computer, have at it. Anyway.
I would say if they can't figure it out, it's probably not likely to get figured out.
I know, right.
Wow.
Yeah, they're the whiz kids. Okay, Steve, it's all you.
All right. Just so you know, I just got back from 2 weeks in Boise babysitting my 6-year-old grandson and my almost 2-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, I'm ready for you guys. I mean, I handled that.
You're all
so,
hyped up and ready, huh?
I'm all practiced out. So. There's not a lot of status updates. Both Matt's and Elmer's have been shut down now, going on second month. Elmer's hopes to get back on site the third week of April to get the force main drilled under Arthur and Floyd, and that's the last of their real underground pipe they need to get in, and then start getting the roads that haven't been paved yet tuned up, and their sister company or parent company, Reith Riley, they're trying to make sure they're first in the queue for paving when they start up in hopefully early May, and get that taken care of. Matt's was trying to do a little more work, and they finally got frozen out too. But they still have some work over in Columbus Beach Club. A couple of Harrison and Pierce still need their gravity mains dug in, and then they have to start drilling all these services in. But they all got their structures in the ground. That's the good news. The wastewater plant, I think it was the day after the last time we met, they finally had to just shut down. They weren't getting anywhere. It was just so cold, and it was snowing every night. And their crew trying to put the reinforcing steel up for the next wall pour, they weren't getting much done. They were working every day, but they were just mostly cleaning snow and de-icing stuff. And
That's a point, yeah.
So they shut down for a few weeks. They finally went back to work the 24th, 25th of February, and they got that second area wall poured at the wastewater plant. That went well. They're getting reinforcing steel up in the third area for pour, and they're breaking the last pour up into 2 instead of 3 areas. So they'll be getting ready for those to get poured in the next month. Equipment's showing up. They're stored in either Grand Traverse Construction's warehouse, or Johnny Green is their major sub, putting all the equipment together in their warehouse and that. So the stuff's not just sitting out, in the weather somewhere. But things are marching along there. We met on the 21st or 20. Whatever that Thursday was, it must have been the 20th of February. We met with the Phase 2 contractor, Walton Contracting, that has both the gravity and the low-pressure sewer contract. Got their most recent schedule update. They are not planning to start anything until mid-July. They're going to start on the gravity contract, and their plan right now is to start down at the lift station at the intersection of Doris Place, Barbara, and Dolores, and then work their way northeast up to Mack Avenue. They hope to be done with all that by this fall. Depending on when they finish up that gravity contract in the fall, they might start the low-pressure sewer contract, which is the end of Barbara and then out to Sturgeon Island, or they might wait until the spring to start that, the low-pressure one. So overall, I think that's good news, because they're not going to be messing around with 4th of July weekend or anything leading up to then, and they're not going to be trying to do both contracts at once. So it should keep things from being too chaotic. And their contract they have until August of 2026 to get it all done. So it's not like they're up against it. But that's their current plan. Any questions on that update? Yes, ma'am.
Dorothy, then, would that be?
Yeah. That's that 3-way intersection down there.
Yes.
Barbara, Dolores and
Little
Dorothy.
Street.
Did
Right,
I
the little
misspit?
street
I
there.
might have misspoke one of them. That's that intersection. There'll be a
Okay.
lift station there, lift
Barbara,
station.
Dorothy, and Birchfield.
What's that?
Birchfield and Dorothy and Barbara come together there. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was Dolores,
There's not a Dolores.
or not,
Dorothy?
Dorothy, Doris, and Barbara are actually at the
Dorothy,
intersection. Birchfield's
Birchfield.
just up a little bit, isn't it?
Barbara.
Is that that little?
Comes around. Birchfield comes right down there too. It's all a little point.
Right. That's, there's gonna be a lift station down
Right,
there.
right, yeah.
That's basically the southwest end
Yeah.
of the gravity system. And there'll be a lift station there, there'll be a lift station at the end of Holden, I'm sorry, south, and a lift station at the end of Mac. Then all that stuff gets pumped to the east. They might do some work earlier than that on the lift station over by the Burger King. They have to swap out some pumps for that to handle all this extra stuff coming from you guys. So that'll probably be sometime earlier, but that's not gonna not gonna disrupt the neighborhood down there, so. All right, any questions on that?
So you said that the project that area should be done by fall?
Yeah, their plan is to have the gravity section, starting from there all the way up to Mac,
Okay.
be done by the end of the fall. If they get done early enough in the fall, they're considering starting on the pressure system work out to Sturgeon Island.
So it won't be up and running, or will it be up and running? When you,
If-
I'm kind of confused.
If all goes well by the end of the
So
fall,
people can hook up and go?
if all goes well, it depends on how, like right now, almost all the pipes in the ground for the gravity, but their lift stations aren't operational yet. They're still waiting on consumer power to bring the actual electrical service in. And then their electrician has to hook everything up and it has to be tested and that.
How
So-
big, Steve, how big a problem is it gonna be consumers? We haven't had very good experience with it in this.
It's been plodding along. They've got, Elmer's has 3 lift stations. All their requests were in. Consumers has done the designs for those 3 upgrades, and they're just waiting on consumers now to actually come and do that work. And I think that 2 of the sites, they said they might need a transformer.
Have we contacted our state rep?
I haven't seen a need to do that yet. I mean,
Well, I don't know, I just know it took 3 years to have the power poles moved from the east side of the street. And the power,
Just got done this week.
okay.
and they promised and they promised and they promised. And
We work with them on other projects. When they're providing new service, there's a little more of an urgency to it. I can see where maybe just moving something might go further down the.
I'm interested obviously in phase 1.
Right,
Because until the pumps are working, we're not going anyplace either.
right. So, but yeah, theoretically, they might be ready by this fall to actually have people start hooking up. But there's not really a lot of hookups that go on in the wintertime. But
So
we'll
we're
have
not
to see.
required to hook up till a year after the entire thing is done? Or,
It's
I didn't bring it with me.
Phases.
I'm sorry.
it's whenever they.
Phases, when we say that phase is ready to go.
They used to say that, they used to always say when it was completed. the whole
Well,
thing
he
was
said, Bob
completed.
said both. I've heard him say
Right.
both.
It's
So the-
it's been discussed that
So
it's
that
whatever
needs
they
to really
decide.
be
especially
clarified.
That
when
they
it's
might
just
decide to-
done.
Right,
The township might say phase 1 is ready to hook up,
right.
and later phase 2
Well,
is
being
ready to
ready
hook
and
up.
being required are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
but the required date is a year from whatever it's, my understanding was when the plant's ready to accept sewage.
Well, nobody can hook up until.
Right.
But at some point, they're gonna say, all right, the system is ready for you to hook up, and then that starts a clock
Right.
when you have to hook up. But we're hopefully, we're gonna let people hook up before they even declare things before they start the clock. Because we don't want everybody hooking up at once. It'll
Well,
overrun
we
the
might
plan.
have a little more time, because if they declare that it's ready to go and it's late summer instead of in June,
Mhm.
then literally you've lost what, you might have 2 months in the fall, and then you go into 6 months where you can't hook up. So then you pack them all in there, and if you've got phase 2 then ready to start hooking up, it's gonna be a mess.
Well, but Chris, you did what did we say, 40 days?
Something like that, 40, 42 days, something like that.
Yeah.
With the 5 contractors with the number of hookups we need.
Yeah. And I think the biggest, maybe one of the hurdles might be the inspector, but, you know, he made changes too.
Yeah, if he gets overwhelmed, he might
Right.
start deferring to us like the health department did. so.
Correct. Yeah.
But, yes, ma'am.
Another question, Dorothy is a dead end, so when they start digging up, is that gonna be a problem for people to get down that dead end?
What, the contractors are instructed to try and maintain access as best they can, but now like on Oak Glen, the same situation. There was a couple of days where it really was impossible to get in and out for everybody. So, but they made sure we went door to door, making sure people knew, hey, next week, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's not gonna be access going down there. You're gonna, you know, you need to make arrangements to get your vehicle out, you know. And then the contractor also had a little, you know, a little John Deere mule. And so if somebody needed to get in and out on one of those days, maybe just get a bunch of groceries down to the house and they're elderly and, you know, they were ready to assist for doing something like that.
Because we have a rental down Dorothy, and I'm a little concerned mid-July, you know, when we have renters in there, that can be a little time.
Right, and we're gonna work with the contractor to try to keep people up to date
Yeah.
as we go, neighborhood by neighborhood. We had a similar thing last year in Shanty Creek, putting water lines in, and so many people have Airbnbs out of their house now. You know, these summer cottages are now rented out week to week. And there were some people that were kind of really ticked off because they showed up for their week of vacation and there's people digging right in front of their vacation quiet home and that. So we understand those concerns and we're trying to get, you know, as much information out as we can. That's why I'm trying to say now that, you know, they're not going to start until mid-July, which I think that's partially good news. So. All right, any other questions on that part? All right. What I want to roll into now, the information I've been putting together on, for people to, you know, telling them, you know, how do I get hooked up? What are the steps I have to go through? What's going on? That kind of stuff. I've been working with Trudy and Chris, drafting some stuff up. We've been tweaking it and that. I think we're just about ready to go out with it, but I brought some here, and I was hoping you guys would be kind of guinea pigs. I can give them to you. You guys can look at them and see, is this what you think would be helpful for people, or did I miss the mark? So, would you guys be my guinea pigs?
So you really want to hear from them?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I do.
One thing I'm concerned about, from my experience, it was that they can nail it down really, really close when they're gonna be digging in front of your house. Really close. I mean, you know, they don't usually tell you next week, they tell you Tuesday in the morning or something like that. They're really good.
Depending on the
really
weather and
good.
that. We were working with her because she was gonna be gone for a week and she got her car out, but she wanted to get back in before she was gone for a week, so it wasn't at the neighbor's house, you know, 2 doors down or whatever while she was gone. So we were shuffling around, keeping you up.
They were
to date.
great. They were great. Absolutely.
All right. This one is 3 pages long.
I'm good, I'm not enough, so.
All right. This one's 3 pages long, and it was just kind of a how-to. Hopefully, I was trying to think what people care about. You are good.
Thank you.
There you go. But, you know, it kind of walks you through the different steps in that.
That's great. Thank
Trudy
you.
and Chris both liked it, but they both had the same comment, is that people aren't going to read 3 pages. They want to know if I could put it, like, if I could somehow squeeze down a summary or a checklist or something. So what I did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check off.
Bullet
All right,
points
so,
in my- every bullet point
the
in
1-page
my-
checklist summary of what I just handed you.
Because I was gonna say, I would just underline the things that you
I
Here's
know,
this
me
page.
too.
So I guess,
Highlights.
so this I think is a more important one,
Yeah.
but if your questions aren't answered by that, that maybe go to that one and take a look at it.
Oh, wow, okay. When do we report back?
I'll take input now, we still have 42 minutes,
Oh,
but I'll take
Oh, I won't.
input tomorrow or next. I think it'd be nice to have this out maybe next week.
Yeah, I think so,
So
don't you?
that they could actually have, print a bunch of copies and have them there and post it on the website and that. And then in here, well, both of them actually mention it, the information that's been compiled, which consists of the list of contractors that we know are interested, the actual application for the township, the plumbing permit for the county, the plumbing contractor list that Sheboygan maintains, although they've admitted they only update it every 3 years. The electrical permit application, in case you have a grinder pump or ejector pump for the county. The electrical contractor list the county keeps, although they admit they only update it every 3 years. And what else did I have in here? Oh, the health department for Northwest, their list of contractors, because the contractors are supposed to register with the health department too. I don't know how often they update it, but it's a separate list.
that's for the
So they'd have to be on
contractors?
both lists then?
They're supposed to be on all these lists if they're working in the county.
Oh.
And I've given this information to these contractors. I've given them this information saying, make sure you guys are registered if you aren't already also or on it. And then the last part is Michigan's, the septic replacement loan program. There's a handout, a 2-page summary on here. And they're supposed to register, contractors are supposed to register with them as well. And so I've told them they need to do that. So this has all the hot links. If you're online and you open up this document, it's got the hot links to every one of these in those paragraphs.
But we don't have to do all that, that's just for the contractors?
Right, yeah. Some people want to do it all themselves. Only a few, the guys who don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Wait till they.
But you, pretty much, the plumbing contractor you hire, the electrical contractor you hire, they're probably going to do this stuff for you. But people want to know, so I want to make sure that they have the information.
Now, this would be intimidating, if you hand somebody this, they're gonna go, it's a book.
Right. But each one of those,
But this is gonna give ideas.
each one of those things in there,
Yes, I'm just
you
kidding.
can, is linked in here. I've got the hot links in the
Gotcha.
online document.
Wow.
But not everybody will do that.
People, that's absolutely right.
Well, not everybody wants it's comfortable on the computer.
Oh, yeah. a lot
How
of
many
people
lift
do
stations
that.
are in town now for like the main street? I was just curious, like where does the brewery go and the OMH and Modern Pharmacy and the houses behind them?
Isn't there one right across, well, do you know
Is
where-
that what it is across the street from me?
where there's that panel with the lights? Is it at the
Yeah.
end
Well,
of?
across the street from me, I'm on across from the brewery, just a little bit down from the brewery, across the other side of the street.
Mhm.
So,
And there's
Okay.
at the corner of his property, there's something there, but I don't know.
It's a-
I wish I knew more about the existing system.
I'm just curious.
I want to
Well,
say there's probably 6.
There's one by the
Um,
post office, I know that, because I see that.
Oh, yes.
Last winter during my downtime, I started going through the sewage or the wastewater operating manual,
Mhm.
starting to do the updates to incorporate all this stuff in it.
Mhm.
So if you'd asked me this like a year ago, I probably would have a better answer. I said, yeah, I just remember seeing the table. There was 6. There was pump 1, pump 2.
Oh,
I think there's 2 major ones, pump 1, lift station 1, lift station 2, and then there's some smaller ones too, because it keeps kind of pushing it over towards
Mhm.
the thing. I know one of the critical ones is there across from the Burger King there,
Yeah.
on that back road there. And there should be one down at this end, somewhere back over in here, because that's where all this stuff north of the bridge is coming over that way to get into the system from there.
It's out, like,
This is helpful, thank you for doing this.
Oh.
it's a lot of work.
Very helpful.
Well, yeah. Phase
Yes,
one.
that's a yes.
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean,
yeah, it was about 2 months ago, I really kind of started digging into this because we had this downtime. Once the contractors, and I didn't have to come up here every day or two. I was doing that.
You lived up here when they were down.
Well, not so much, the inspectors were here every day. I got up here maybe 3 or 4 days a week. I know I wasn't up here every day. And I wasn't here from first shovel to last shovel every day, where the inspectors are. Those guys are keeping these guys honest and making sure stuff's getting done right and looking out for each other and that, so. One good thing about when we met with the Phase 2 contractor, their foreman on the job down here for Phase 2, our primary inspector, the guy that had the cowboy hard hat, they have worked together before, and they get along well, and they both have the same philosophy that, get it done right the first time, don't cut corners, don't mess around. This, if you see something, tell me. If I see something, I'll tell you. So that should be good. They have worked together before.
They said that the storm drains that go down a lot of these streets, they almost had to repair. I mean, going with, of course, digging down, they sometimes disrupted them, but some of them were just a mess anyway, they said, and they had to repair most of the
There
storm drains.
there was some interesting stuff down there.
Yeah.
The road commission's been.
Where does it come from?
Right.
The road commission, that was one of my really pleasant surprises. They've been really, wonderful to work with. They've been working ahead of us trying to find their stuff. They've been supplying pipe, for, if we come across one that's in not too good a condition, they're just throwing a chunk of pipe, to the guys, and and Elmer's was putting it in for them, and it worked out really well. Yeah, you had some interesting stuff on your street.
I bet.
There was, we found some interesting stuff. So.
Buried treasure, dead bodies.
So, we did find some interesting bottles over on South Prospect there.
Oh, really?
Digging up for, it was for the clean out. There's the lift station there by the corner, and then there's 2 more structures before you get to the beach club. There's a clean out about halfway back there, and there's an air release up at the top of the hill there. But when they're doing the clean out down there, there was some interesting old, bottles and Coke cans and stuff like that. And there was some chunks of piling that people had driven. They were hand hewn at the bottom for a point. So somebody had driven some handmade piles in to support something at some point down there. This is why I didn't hand this stuff out until after I was done talking, because I knew you guys would just not listen at all and just read. So.
I'm more free with a cup of tea. Tea and a scone.
Yes, sir.
Do you anticipate having to close the parking lot at DeVoe Beach at all this summer?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the day they pave, there won't be any traffic in and out of there.
But it won't be any week or so at a time?
No, they got most of their stuff out of there.
Okay.
When they come back that 3rd week of April, hopefully, they'll spend probably a week tuning the roads up, bringing in some additional gravel and getting them tuned and crowned and all that. And as soon as they're paved, then after that's just finishing up the restoration work, getting people's grass growing and stuff.
It's been a little messy down on Arthur this winter, but, all for the, I mean, you know why, it's temporary, so.
I know, before I left, I drove all the roads, and everything was frozen, everything was really, really nice. And
Sunny days, yeah.
I was worried about driving them today, what I would find, but it looks like the the Pike and Witt got graded yesterday.
Oh,
I think the road commission did that. I think I asked Trudy, and she thinks that's what, they had to do some work at the transfer station, I guess. And it looked like they've been graded yesterday, and Arthur and Constance hadn't been, but that's awful narrow. But even Arthur and Constance weren't as bad as I thought they'd be.
Oh, and the county plowed a lot more. They never plowed down there, and they plowed a lot this winter. That was like a plus.
Right.
It was on their brain, I think. So that was decent. That was decent.
Beach Club had a couple of lakes out there, but we'll get there. So.
yeah.
I don't know, positive experience.
I understand why you use plumbing contractor, but is that misleading because Bridgewater's not a plumbing contractor there?
An excavating contractor, yeah. So I just didn't want to confuse people too much. But they're both on the list.
Right.
So
Well, and Matt's isn't a plumbing contractor, right?
no, but they have licensed plumbers that do that kind of work.
Okay.
So
Did you want to address any of the issues on that, or no? It's up to you.
the one on the left.
Yeah, you touched on it. That you're gonna put the roads back and the driveways back and repair people's
Right.
yards and that
Yeah,
type of.
I can say that.
Yeah,
While I was gone, I guess there was some concern about replacing private roads with public money and that. I think more, the reference was towards the beach club. I think some people were upset with that, but anything we touch, we fix, basically. If we cut through a private driveway over here, we gotta put it back. We're cutting through the private roads in Cumberland Beach, we gotta put them back. I mean, the government has approved all that. There's nothing under the table or anything. It's just,
Well, being a special assessment district, it's paid for by the homeowner, which is
Yeah.
not government money.
yeah, so.
Now, some of the grants are.
But I guess that issue has bubbled up. There's a few people somewhere that are a little
Well,
upset.
because you know, there's somebody that
Yeah, but,
doesn't want to pay.
yeah. Well, but all those rich people over Columbus Beach Club, they aren't paying, right? So,
How will one know when they get this package, whether they have to worry about the electrician and the grinder pump or the ejection pump?
I think I addressed that. How did I say it?
Yeah. how to do that.
I think it's, you're giving me a list.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
initially,
looked at that today.
She's got,
yeah.
I've given her a list. She's got a list of everyone in phase 1 and phase 2, and whether they're gravity or low pressure sewer or ejector. Yeah, so, that's one of the things I say is contact them. Yeah, contact Chris, basically. I gave her email address and the phone number to see if you're able to connect yet. And then confirm with them if it's a gravity connection, a gravity with an ejector pump, or a low pressure with a grinder pump. So that's basically the first step after you get your information, is to contact them. And then the spreadsheet I set up for her, it's got pink shading on one column and a note. So but when your block or house is able to connect to the system, that'll turn green. So when you call up and give her your name and address, you look on this, and if it's green over in that column, she can say, yes, you're able to hook up now. You can start taking these actions.
What's the likelihood that you would get your electrician and your plumber there at the same time?
I don't know. It would depend on who you contacted, I think, and how soon.
Well, if you don't know until
Right. you know,
in July.
yeah, I don't know, you know, there was some discussion last summer, I think, about neighborhoods or blocks or people working to get a stretch of their street, all with the same contractor to do the laterals, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
Maybe extend that and say to a contractor, an electrician, plumber, we have 4 people, we have 6 people. Would you consider doing us all in the same week, or, you know, I don't know, I think it's worth an ask. If I were on the other side of that equation, I'd wanna,
Just-
but the
Because they don't do
likelihood.
it often, but when I try and get a hold of an electrician, they say, well, I think I can do it in 3 weeks or 5 weeks or.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
So is there some way that you could notify them that, because really your electrical can be done ahead of time, can't it?
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Mhm.
Which would be a better situation for your former connector.
Mhm. I can call them.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's worth trying to reword part of this to say that, you know, you could work ahead on the electrical stuff if necessary. You don't have to wait until it's time to hook up if you wanted to get your, you know, electrical contractor in there.
Mhm.
And this is gonna be on the website,
Mhm.
all this document.
Do you have any feedback right now on things that need clarification, things that we've missed?
No, we solved the, well,
Trudy, is there like somebody that can be emailed if you get through this thing, questions there, so that we're not constantly calling you?
I would say the admin, I'll throw you under the bus, Chris, the admin at Tuscarora
You've already
TWP. Yeah, yeah, under the second, or excuse me, the first bullet point, or second. I guess
Okay,
she's under both.
admin, got it,
Yeah.
right there.
And I would say maybe in just the RE say
Well, and
sewer
Steve usually
feedback. or something.
contacts me twice a day.
Yeah,
He usually
so.
stops at my office every morning and then again every
Yeah,
afternoon.
we're trying to make this user-friendly, so do give feedback. You know, phase 1, Sally, you guys were the prototype, you know, the guinea pigs. So, but again, from your experience, any helpful hints along the way, whether they're there or not, I think, you know,
Well, I'm
we
just
don't want
thinking-
this to be an uphill battle.
we don't wanna hide, you don't wanna hide anything from anybody, but this is a helpful document for phase 1 people. But because phase 2, the earliest it could be available is the fall
Correct?
of
This year.
And for them to get their documents, when you put this as notification, and then all the people that don't show up to the sewer meeting call Chris because they have questions.
Right.
Now, having just said that, I have one more piece of paper for you. All right, this is something, it's a 1-page, I drafted up a notice for the phase 2 people to let them know what's going on. Because we know that they really don't need this yet.
Right?
I mean, they might want to look at that, but they want to know, well, what the hell's going on? So this is the phase 2. Even though she's phase 1, I'm giving her one too.
Oh, I don't care.
I'll take them, I get a lot of them.
Hopefully I'm
And
on
Sally,
phase
phase
12.
2 is a little more robust. The phone line issue.
Yeah, me too.
Phase 1.
And then you'll notice that
Oh, they have telephones in phase 2?
you notice I put a date on these, because if we make changes to stuff, we'll make changes, they'll post the new changes, but then when someone calls up and they start saying something that doesn't sound quite right, Chris is gonna say, well, what date is the thing you're talking about? Oh, no, that's not you've got an old copy, here's the new one.
Good. Good for you, Chris. They don't necessarily make their lines either, that's what's.
Yeah.
Does the whole thing literally happen just like that fast? I mean, I'm having a hard time getting a concept of the whole thing. Like, you've got your drain field and your septic like we have it now, then you're gonna be ready to hook up, and at some point you abandon your old thing, but you leave it hooked up until after your,
They come in, what your contractor does, he comes and does it in a day. so that you're not offline, for more than a few hours.
But you don't have to crush that right away.
They usually crush it, at least when they get
Because
my
my
house,
fear
they
is-
crush it as they put the pipe through.
See, my fear is something's gonna
I have a fear too.
And then where's my shit gonna go?
Literally.
Oh, we all have that fear.
You know,
That's why I have a hard time, I have a hard time
Yeah.
seeing a pump
I've
because-
had sewer in my house downstate, and I'm not a nice person.
Yeah, they,
Oh, no, thanks.
generally what's gonna happen is, this is mostly for the gravity folks, I guess. The contractor you have that's connecting you up to the lateral, up to your pipe to the house, they'll excavate that all out, trying to avoid, cutting into your line that's going to your tank, and get as much as he can ready, and then the inspector wants to come and inspect it before it gets back, connected and backfilled.
On that very day that it all happens. Oh my
Right,
God.
so he wants to do that, and once the inspector says, yeah, it's okay, then they can literally cut your pipe, hook it up to the one they just dug in, and then,
Flip the switch sometime.
then they can pump your tank and
So
fill it
you're
with
saying
sand.
go ahead and take it out right away?
Well,
regardless
you've
of
only
what-
got one pipe coming out of your house, it's not like you have two options. Well, actually, you do have two
I do
options.
have two
but-
options,
But
so.
but they both lead to one, so.
No, one-
Well, I have only one, but I'm thinking of possibly, depending on how expensive it is, having my plumbing come out in a different part of the house than straight into the backyard where you'd have to go around and cut a corner.
Some people, that'll be a better option, right?
So you would just have all that ready to roll, and then you just connect and,
They would still have to then in the house flop, do your switch, so.
it'd be interesting.
But yeah, the intent is that, you're not down like a week. You might be down for the day they're doing all this, the actual
Remember,
hookup.
they did businesses.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I
Or
mean,
they
they're
have-
gonna have to do the
shut the
clinic,
VA.
they're gonna have to do the VA, right? That's all gonna be part of this? Is that?
Or is the VA already on?
No,
Or
they're not,
they already on?
I assume they are, they're not
Or
part of
meter
this.
reading now.
I'm sorry?
Or meter reading
Yeah,
now.
so,
Yeah,
Part of
that's-
the commercial
Oh.
district, sure.
So they're already up and going.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only commercial facility we have here is the Pinehurst, which is not really a commercial facility, it's just a bunch of apartments. so.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna go to the bathroom.
You weren't brave enough to tell us where that.
Don't eat the night before.
I'm sorry.
It's a little different for everybody, but if you go on the thing there, it adds up, yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that somebody's gotta tell them that you have to get all these permits, and it's not gonna be $10.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you
your
got,
township permit is 75, that's on here. If you
But the
go-
county is.
the county, yeah, there's a, is it $50 I gave you all my info. I only made 5 copies of the big one. I didn't want to kill too many trees. Yeah, it's like, there's a $50 admin fee, there's a $75 flat fee. Then if you have an ejector pump or a grinder pump, you have to add in another 5 or 10 or something. And then there's a $50 inspection fee. And if he has to come back a second time, there's another $50 inspection fee, so.
See, nobody ever talked about any of that kind of stuff when we were first going out with this about the fees. So that's gonna make some people a little irate.
Oh, it's gonna make a lot of people, you're talking 120. What? Are you pointing at me? 120 for Sheboygan. Yeah, Sheboygan. And then you keep going. Can't you?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, none of that was ever talked
No,
about.
it was not.
None of that was
That's
ever
where
So
talked
you
about.
were never given a sheet of all the
Never.
expenses?
No, you're just told it's only, that's your favorite line, it's only gonna cost.
All was talked about was your yearly tax bill, your hookup bill, and your O&M. And so there's gonna, there'll be probably a little pushback, but, just warning that people People might get a little something. And maybe they're just used to it and they'll be accepting. You know, if you've done any construction or anything, they're like permit.
Right, right.
Yeah, so.
Yep. I don't know, should we include in that big packet, is there a fee schedule from the county or no?
It's on the,
there is.
it's on the
There is,
permit
okay.
itself.
Oh, I
And
see.
like I said,
Yeah,
it's,
very nice page.
and
Okay.
it's different if you have like, it's a little more if you have a grinder or an ejector pump. But yeah, let me grab one from somebody.
Well, if it's included,
I'll give it right back.
Here's your first one. And then you keep going and you get them all.
Yeah, so Tuscarora, you guys charge 75. Or wait.
Oh, it's a $10, for Tuscarora, it's a $10 application fee, a $55 inspection fee, so that's 65. If there's a re-inspection, that's 10. And constructed service leads, that's 7, so I guess that's another 75.
Oh, I don't know. I'm surprised.
Hey, Trudy, that fee that was on our tax bill, is that gonna be a yearly, so that's what you pay for the year? No, she said no.
It will go up next year. That'll
Okay.
be your highest year, and then each year after that, it will go down by
It's your 40 year,
And
Yeah.
that is going towards
40 years.
40 years on the 40 years, the 19,000, whatever it is.
yeah, it services the debt on the loans. That's the repayment. Yeah.
All right, and then for the county plumbing permit, there's a $70 initial. Then a $5 for the sewer connection. Another $5 if there's an ejector. Then there's a $50 administrative fee.
Steve, won't that be included when you hire your excavator or whoever to do their work? They'll take care of that in most cases. So you
They'll
won't-
take care of it, they'll put it on your bill.
Right, right.
That's how they take care of it.
Yeah.
And then there's then a $50 inspection fee,
But,
so.
Another inspection fee? Another $50, not the 55
It'll be
initially?
interesting if they inspect and then come back and get
Well-
them, everybody there ready to roll.
I was gonna say that I would question why the reinspection, and if it's a contractor difficulty, I would say to my contractor beforehand, if they need to come back because you're not ready, that's on you. You know,
It sounds like it'll just be one $50 inspection
Oh.
fee for the county. Now, you guys,
well, maybe we can summarize those. Well, I don't know if that'll make it clear as mud or worse.
I mean, when I had mine done, I just paid my contractor to do it all. and
Right.
It was one check.
And it was a pass-through fee. I guess that would be another question if it were me. I would ask my contractor, are you gonna handle these and pass these through or mark them up?
Well,
I would
usually
think
they
it's a
have to
pass-through.
pull them, don't they?
Usually they're the ones that does it.
They're the ones that
That
pull
pull
them.
it.
I mean, I never pulled one for my whole house, right?
I would let them, I would,
so don't go to, what you're saying is don't go somewhere and pay the fee when your contractor's gonna do it also.
that would be a question, right,
And
yeah.
they'll just put it in the fee.
Right.
For those do-it-yourselfers who think they want to do this themselves,
An estimate. Does it include the fees or not?
right, there you go. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, yeah. And, yeah. And then when you're ready for inspection, is the contractor going to say, hey, inspector, I'm ready, come take a look? Or is that on the homeowner? You know, to me, if I'm contracting with Steve to do my work, you do it all, and I just write the
I'm glad
check.
Steve's had good results with the inspectors, because that's one of the worrisome things.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, you addressed that at the last sewer meeting, that, you know, the inspector, in other places, they've entrusted
Health Department Northwest has said they are not gonna require a separate inspection, they're deferring to our inspectors.
Right.
And they're not requiring permits or anything, they'll just defer to us on our as-bills. The county is the one that's requiring, that's saying they're gonna do their own inspection on everything.
So are we all covered by the Health Department Northwest?
Yes,
The both sides and,
yes.
okay, cool.
I still think that the county inspector may be the sticky wicket,
Oh,
but there's
yeah.
not much you can do
For
about
right
it.
now,
I mean,
he
for
is.
Right now, yeah.
We don't know if he's gonna soften a little bit.
Right, exactly.
When he sees how many we're doing, or if he sees, there's no shenanigans going on.
Right, right.
You might check with John Wallace,
Okay.
tell him what our concern is. See what he says.
And is that that's the plumbing inspector, correct?
It's just me.
That's not his name.
No, John Wallace is our
Oh,
commissioner, but the,
the plumbing inspector of Sheboygan County.
yes,
I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
you'll think of it, yeah.